Welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Advice, thoughts, and stories from a married couple on cybersecurity, technology, and life in general. Now here are your hosts, Didi and Lital.
Hello and welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Didi, you're remote. Look at your background. What's up?
That is the background of our house. This is the picture that I took that really is kind of behind me. Just with lighting, it doesn't look as good. But this is our backyard, which now has a floodlight detection camera, and we'll see how many bunnies will wake us up in the middle of the night.
Well, we can definitely hear how empty the space is because you have this nice echo of an empty new home. So, yeah.
Echo, 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 echo.
Makes you smile.
Dumb jokes, dad jokes. I am a dad, therefore I tell dad jokes.
So how has your week been?
So my week has been interesting. I got to send a whole bunch of people the podcast about hyperboles. I told people, hey, have you listened to my podcast? Because I explained that what you're doing right now is an hyperbole. Go away. So I got to use our podcast multiple times.
If you haven't listened to it, please do.
Yes. And of course, the Bruins have finally won a game in regulation and not in overtime. Dave, I don't know about you, but Felger and I were really not enjoying that West Coast trip that every game went into overtime.
Yeah.
And it was like scheduled overtime loss. So
I know.
painful.
If a tie is like kissing your sister, then an overtime win is like, I don't know, kissing your cousin. And an overtime loss is just like a bad meal or something. I don't know.
Yes. You know what? An overtime loss is like an adequate meal with a very bad dessert.
Right. That's it.
The dessert really sets up the meal. Nothing is worse than going to a restaurant that has bad desserts. Please, that's my insight. So this has been a week. And of course, how we enjoyed our weekend. So Lital and I had a romantic evening on Sunday. Lital, do you want to tell how we spent our romantic evening?
We spent the entire afternoon into the evening, which we didn't plan it, in our new, soon to be moved to home, which is, you can, if you're watching us on YouTube and you can see the backyard, how beautiful it is. It's going to be much nicer in the summertime. But we spent the entire afternoon into the evening connecting some Internet of Things stuff. Basically,
connecting our connected home.
The connected home. We connected a bunch of cameras. We connected the new shades, and what else? We still didn't connect the laundry machines, the washer, which just arrived today. That's why you are remote. And we have a bunch of other appliances to connect. That was a nightmare. It's like a thing. It takes you a while to figure out how you do it. And once you do it, you get into the groove and you manage to connect all of them. And we both realize, oh my God, how many IPs do we have at home? And that's before we install TV and before we have computers in?
We have about 20 IP addresses right now on our network.
And how many? This is going to triple by the time we actually move.
This is going to triple. This is going to be, I think, we're going to be challenging our IP address range. This is going to be really funny because we might challenge the IP range because our subnet is right now defined as only a block 4. So that means that we only have the subnet of the backend. We probably might need to have a change of address spacing or change in the mask or maybe define subnets because this is a shit show.
And I didn't even tell you that I decided that I want the all the lights in the first floor to be connected also to Google Home so that once we are out, you're not going to ask me, did you turn off the lights? I'll be able to go to the app and turn it off.
That's gonna be atrocious. We probably need to.
That's atrocious.
I probably need to bring in Matt to bring in some consultation about network setup, because this is getting to the edge of my abilities in network setups. But this is where the Didi rant needs to start, because you're presenting this as everything is awesome. Well, everything is actually a shit show.
Of course, now our home is attack surface galore. It's basically the dream of potentially any hacker, isn't it?
Yes. So let's start with just ranting about Google.
Start with that. That's always a good place to start.
So Google has this tendency. Google and Omri are the same. They're super excited about something, like he's now excited about Indian food, where he DoorDashes this like every other day, and excited. Everything is important. Everything is this, and then they drop it like a 3-year-old.
Yeah, because he has a tummy ache one day, and he decides never gonna eat Indian
ever again. So from this point on, it's dead to me. Yeah. So this is exactly the same thing with Google and technologies.
If it's not search, they're gonna drop it.
If it's not search and it's not gonna bring the money, they're gonna drop it. Which reminds me, we do need to cover that disaster too in our opening next time. But they've completely neglected the Nest acquisition in a very, very bad way. So they have technologies that work with the old Nest. They have stuff that works with the new Nest. So Lital had to set up 3 thermostats in 3
from a different generation, because the builder, I don't know, probably got stuck with some things that he had from a couple of years ago. So there are a few new Nests, old thermostats, different generations.
Different generation of Nest, and each one has a different setup. It's just mind-boggling, because one, you need to connect it with the app to the network. The other one, you need to connect with the scan of the QR code. The other one needs to generate a code on its own. And each one of them has a different behavior, and that was a mess.
Also, then there's the cameras, that each one has its own thing.
Oh, as its own thing. The builder decided to put in a connected garage door, which I set up today, which doesn't talk to either Brilliant, Apple. It's an Amazon thing, so it only works with the Amazon.
So now you need to bring Alexa as well?
I have no idea. We're not bringing Alexa. Alexa.
Then we replace the whole thing. We're already in one ecosystem.
Yes.
Just replace the plug with something that.
Which is the real big problem, because the ecosystem is a mess. And that's I'm just talking about the Google ecosystem. And you'd expect Apple, to be that nice setup walled garden. But that's a shit show too, because it is a bunch of subcontractors that work underneath. And that's kind of where our shift towards security needs to come into the conversation. Because as I see this, if this is the user experience of the fact that I need to have an app for the dishwasher, an app for the washing machine, an app for the garage door, and only some of them connect back
to
the stove, and only some of them connect back to my main ecosystem, and each one of them is written by a contractor that doesn't actually know what they're doing.
They're probably using password 12345 and never changing it.
Yes.
And like not routers.
And not supporting smarter forms of authentication.
And how do you update firmware at all?
Exactly.
Patch it?
Exactly. So back to my main point, Google
attack surface galore.
And Matt, in some of our conferences, has this nice setup about our identity pitch. We always say, why hack in when you can log in? Now, my answer to the house is, why break in when you can hack it. So think of the fact that right now, if I am able to hack into that ecosystem, now I get to know, are Didi and Lital home, or is it just Simba protecting the house? And as we know, he's not very brave. So he's not much of a guard cat. So that means that somebody, our parents used to leave the light on. No, make sure that nobody knows that we're away, so nobody breaks in. Remember that?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
alarm.
When they flew abroad, that they will keep the radio on or the
Yes,
TV
yes.
on.
TV on.
TV on. That was my parents were into leaving the TV on.
They left the TV on for Passover. This was the
Oh, with songs like that. The next level was you leave the Passover song. So for those of you that don't know, there used to be a trend of Passover night break-ins in Israel, because most families will go over to other families and homes will be left alone for a few good hours. Traffic is a disaster. Think about how your Turkey Day on Thanksgiving wouldn't look like. Many homes alone, so people will break in during Passover's dinner. So to prevent that, my parents used to leave the TV on or like whatever with or a radio with a tape cassette with songs for Passover, as if somebody is celebrating Passover at home. We can do the same.
Yes.
Leave the music on.
No, we can do all the stuff, but if somebody, we can turn on the Sonos on, we can turn the Spotify on if you want. I like to annoy the kids by turning on all the music in the house right now when I want to wake them up when I'm not there. So it's really fun. But now the hackers can actually know that all this is a blur because nobody's actually there, because they can turn on the cameras and they can know from the nest that the nest knows that nobody's here, because
potentially they can see their cell phone's location. The geofencing is away.
yes, exactly.
You have the smart lock.
Exactly.
And there's geofencing.
Exactly. And because Amazon wants to use what is called the smart key to allow the delivery, that, by the way, we are turning on the smart key capability of the garage door. That means that the delivery people can just come and the garage door opens and they can put the packages in the garage rather than leaving them outside if we want.
So, I've been thinking, before we get into how we need to think about it for security, I've been debating before we installed all this crap, whether we want it or not.
One more thing. As we leave our existing house and move to the new house, what do? Do we factory reset all the shit that we have? Think of how many.
You have to. Otherwise, what? You're going to give it to the new person that's going to live there?
That's a very good question of what
you of course.
When you rent things out, do you keep the ownership or do the renter need to keep the ownership?
I wouldn't want to have ownership over somebody else's network.
But that's, I think, but I think
like keeping the key, right?
But when you rent something out, you do leave the key.
Right. But do you really want to see his porn?
I don't know. Maybe I'll be inspired.
I hope not. So again, I was debating if I actually want to get into this smart house craziness. I mean, yes, you connect, your music, your Sonos and stuff, but do you really want to connect your laundry machine, your dryer and stuff? But I think there are some, you made some nice use cases of why that actually real benefits for doing it. Like, for example, when the washer and the dryer are connected, the dryer can actually know the size of the load it's getting from the washer, how much moist there is, and it's going to be energy efficient, and it's going to be much better. So there is a case for how it makes the whole house run better. Not to talk about this thing of like when I'm in bed and I'm like, okay, let's turn off the lights instead of me getting out of into the cold and then needing to turn on the light on my cell phone to walk back to bed without falling. So yes, there are like those good benefits for doing it. Question is it worth it with the risk? And what can we do with the risk? And maybe we need to bring Vikram to talk about all those home devices because he is the expert.
Yes. So that now, if you're going to talk about Vikram's element of this, now think of how many companies are spying on you on every one of your efforts, and how much will they sell your data? Because now your washing machine knows how much clothes you have.
How often do I wash?
How often do you wash?
P&G can know what's like my consumption of Tide.
Exactly. So think of how they can sell that data. Will they sell that? Will they sell that data? Of course they'll sell that.
The fridge will know when we're running low on milk.
No, I think our fridge is not that smart. I think it's mainly smart enough to. I have no idea how smart it is.
We didn't turn it on. I think the fridge, we don't need to turn on the fridge. That's the one thing.
Of course we will. Of course we will. This is the other problem, that as a nerd, I cannot not play with this. It's like, it tickles. I know I want this. Now, the smart home, there are a lot of benefits. This is an important element to remember. Smart home, regardless of the comfort level, which is really nice. As I grow old and senile, how many times do I think, did I leave the oven on? How many times do I think, did I leave the door unlocked? How many times do I think, kind of, if you think of the inclement weather that we've been dealing with, is the basement flooded again? Things like that, kind of, all of us think of. So there's the element of personal security. And there's also the case, if you remember that murder that happened in Newton with the two old people, with the crazy person that broke in and snuck in.
Yeah.
Think of the fact that all the Nest cameras on the street helped the police capture.
Yeah, absolutely. Surveillance and street security has gone so much better because of that. Everybody basically has the Ring and Nest cameras, and because of that, you can catch any burglar immediately almost.
Yeah. So it does help with your personal security, but it does change the battleground into the tech battleground. And
like everything, right? Personal security going up, cybersecurity going down. It's just a shift.
Yes.
So if you're thinking about how we secure our home and you're coming from this world of identity, what should be done? And is it available right now? Is there something that we can use, or do we need to go invent it?
I think this is where we need to give a real strong shout out to our buddy Vikram, because I think for the majority of people, they will not be able to understand the technology, and they need to delegate this to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, as you know, if you're dealing with a firewall and you're not dealing with a bunch of Israelis, you're doing something wrong. The head of Checkpoint, the head of Palo, the head of Meraki. So I already talked to my buddies at Meraki, and I'm trying to get us an MX75 that will have enough bandwidth to carry the house, because I tried the old MX and it kind of so put an IoT aware firewall between you and the world. And when I see IoT aware, and this brings back to my thoughts of, if our house is this smart yet this dumb, what do you do with the MRI machines in the hospitals?
It's the same problem. I mean, it's a connected machine.
It's much worse.
Why?
Because what's the life expectancy of our washer?
Declining, for sure.
Yeah.
It's getting to 2 years, sadly enough.
But let's say 5.
At best, yes.
An MRI machine probably has a Windows XP on it, because your expectation is for those to live like 20 years.
Well, how is it different than a Boeing 747? Same, right?
No, 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 no. You don't want your planes connected to any internet. Hopefully, that the only thing that works on the internet is some connection to another provider, but hopefully that network is not connected in any way, shape, or form to anything in the avionics on the plane.
Hopefully. I don't know if going forward that's always going to be the case, but let's get back to the hospital use case.
But the hospital use case has tons of gear. Everything's connected. You need to be connected because the companies do support from remote, which is very similar to what we're doing with the house. We want to be able to support from remote. Think of the fact
Of course, you have no surgeries happening from one side of the ocean to a different continent. It's happening.
But that means that those pieces of equipment basically run ancient Windows machines. Some of them run OS2 machines, and somebody will hack them. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And now you have this, basically this reservoir, very much like the COVID reservoirs, which is called kindergarten. It's like a reservoir of malware that can always wake up and reattack. And because of the cost of shutting down manufacturing lines, MRI machines, every minute those machines are down, it costs the hospital money. Nobody's going to chase these things around. And now you are kind of stuck with the fact that you have an open door. You have to have those smart devices. Very much like we did. We need our smart devices. We want to be able to check from the phone. Think of yourself yesterday. The electrician shut down the Nest camera, and for something that was not there, we were stressed that we can't see.
That's the stupidity of having it.
No.
The minute you have it, you get hooked to it.
Of course.
Before we had it, we didn't care.
Very much like cell phones.
Yeah.
The fact that you don't go anywhere without texting ahead to say, hey, I'm coming.
Yes. I used to just come. When we were kids, we just showed up in our friends' house. We didn't call. If they weren't there, they weren't there. We would call them to get out. We yelled.
Yes.
We didn't text them here.
Yes, Dave, you're the local specialist on movies. Remember there was a David Lynch movie?
Blue Velvet?
No, yeah, there was that. But a guy that basically goes on his lawnmower to visit his brother 400 miles away.
Oh, yeah. In California or something. Yeah.
Something like that.
Like the old dude.
Was it called The Lawnmower Man? No. It's called The Straight Story.
Straight Story.
Yeah, Straight Story. Exactly. Yeah. Great movie.
Great movie.
Strange.
But that kind of gives you the idea that people used to venture for days and weeks, hoping that somebody will be there, not calling ahead. And now there's next
not putting the GPS on.
Not putting the GPS on. And you expect somebody to be there. Right now, you don't leave your house without knowing that the person's there. And it got to the point where we were talking about ringing the doorbell. Do you actually ring the doorbell, or do you WhatsApp and say, hey, I'm here?
People text, I'm here.
Yes. Which reminds me, our doorbell still doesn't work. You need to talk to the electrician.
Okay, let's go back to how do we secure this thing?
So, firewall.
What are the things to think about? Let's start with password and this kind of like
let's start with firewalls.
Okay, start with firewalls.
There's very few, as you know, somebody that makes money, works for a company that makes money with firewalls. This is a very good case of why you need firewalls.
So basically, you're saying if you're now installing a connected home, you start connecting device don't leave your router as is. Don't leave your home network as is. Don't just connect it to
Yes.
Google or Apple or whatever device, or Alexa, whatever you're using. You need to add a firewall to your home and set it up. Explain to those that are not from security background, because we will have a bunch of people that are setting their homes now listening. Why? What's the benefit? What they're getting, and how to do it.
So this is where you need something that sits right near in your electricity cabinet that takes the feed from I don't know, T-Mobile, Verizon, Comcast. Their boxes come
Your
out with
internet provider.
they come out with an Ethernet plug that looks like a phone like connector. You connect that to a box that is called something like a firewall. And what the firewall will provide is network segmentation. So first,
Why doesn't your Google Home comes with a built-in firewall?
it does,
Okay.
but it's not that good.
Okay. Because
Uh,
you would expect those providers of the ecosystem to have it built in.
yeah, the only one that I've seen that has something is Arrow. Arrow is the only one that has it. The Linksys has something, but Linksys maintained its not consumer friendly UI. It looks like the firewall controller from Cisco 30 years ago.
Okay.
Uh,
So yeah, I think most people will choose to go with Google Home, Apple Home, Alexa. So for those, you're saying you need to add a layer of
between
some
the evil internet and your world, consider putting something that understands your network and is able to create what is called network segmentation. You want to be able to say, you know what? I'm putting the really bad devices, like the washing machine by LG, and a whole bunch of and the fridge,
stovetop.
stovetop, all the stuff that the device itself is smart, but not that smart.
It's not smart.
It's not smart. Just put it in its own segment and make sure that that is highly monitored traffic. Keep it away from things that come from a Nest or something that actually is basically a Linux box.
So does it mean that if an attacker is trying to kind of like get through, get to your network through the washer,
Yes.
they will not be able to get through? It's a separate segment, and they will not be able to jump hoops and get to your laptop that is also connected to the same Wi-Fi network.
Exactly. To create
Awesome.
that level of separation.
What
Second,
else?
content filter. And that's where we need to talk to Vikram about this, because you need a smart content filter.
Okay. What about that?
See what, so first reason why you need a content filter, especially if you have teenage boys, is to know how much porn they're watching.
If you can, assuming you can.
You can. And you try to
No,
block
I'm
it.
saying you care.
Oh, I care. Of course you care. You want to be inspired. So, but you do want to be able to govern the content that the kids consume and the amount that they consume and get metrics. But you also want to see who's selling your information, because you want to be able to see what stuff they're beaconing out. So if I'll show you what's coming out of our Arrow firewalls that are in our house right now, you'll see that almost every game that Omri plays tries to beacon out and sell his information. Every time he goes online with his friends from Israel, trust me, you can see malware central.
So do those tools also provide some protection, blocking for those things? So is it just you can see it?
So try to go to an ad from our house and you'll see.
It's going to get blocked?
Most of the time it will get blocked.
Okay.
So content filtering, that's number 2. And monitoring of that content filtering.
So basically you can block porn sites, you can block malicious websites, and so.
But you can also block adware and spyware.
Mhm.
You'll see if somebody's trying to beacon out to tell the world that they're coming in. And also you'll be able to track when a device comes online in your network or not. If you remember in my arrow, you get it every time the kids bring somebody home and they give them our network password, you can see them beaconing in, and we can decide if we want to quarantine them, put them in their own segment, and things like that. Omri was asking, how come we have a guest network? I said, that's where I put your friends. When they come in and see new device, this is where I put them in, because that's a blocked network.
Okay. What else?
I think that's about it.
What do you think the regular human beings, who can they ask for help doing it?
That's
People want to connect. I think it's a really gap in the it's a real gap in the market. The fact that the big providers don't give it built in. Consumers are not aware and
they're
cannot.
part of the enemy. They are part of the enemy. Google sells your information. Verizon sells your information.
Sure.
So they are actually part of the problem. They're not part of they can't be part of the solution. They're part of the problem.
So is there space? Well, Vikram is doing part of it. It seems like there is a space for security for the consumers. The problem is it's really hard. We all know it's so hard to sell to consumers. The awareness is low.
Actually, their awareness is the problem. But people don't think that somebody's spying on them. People don't know, and people don't care.
Maybe people don't care. That's the reality.
It's possible. And if that's the case,
what can we do?
What can we do?
So hopefully we're not going to get pwned through the microwave.
Well, that microwave is not going to live. This microwave, this has been my pet concern with this house. It has a microwave that's in the countertop. It's too low for me. It's built for a midget, and it's built with that you need to tap a button for it to open. Lital almost broke it like 5 times because she manually opened it, even though I told her that there's a button for it, so she yanked on it. And that thing is going to be so dead. I'm giving that microwave about
2 months,
maybe a month. Yeah,
we'll see.
Exactly.
Well, cool. Good. Well, I hope we helped anyone that is moving, anyone that is interested in setting the home network. I'm really going to ask Vikram to comment on once we put this episode out, so he can give all his wisdom here, and maybe we'll bring him for a follow-up. Maybe we'll do a home tour and show people what to do. Maybe that's going to be part of it. We can have a quick video tutorial, but in the meantime, I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. Please keep your home secured. It's important. Don't be part of the problem. Let's solve the problem. Thank you, everyone. The Didi and Lital Show is as a weekly podcast. Please rate and review us wherever you get it. See you next time. Bye, Didi. Awesome.